now, Halloweenies, it is time for some ghost stories. Ever since I was a little kid, I have been obsessed with ghost stories. Anytime I'd go camping or go to a friend's house, I would insist we all sit around and tell ghost stories. Unfortunately, I never really found anybody who shared the enthusiasm that I had for them. Eventually, now that I have the internet, I'm sure I could find plenty of people who enjoy a good ghost story. There's just something about a good ghost story that can send a real good chill up your spine. Some of them have been around for decades or even possibly hundreds of years, while other ones are new and obscure and not a lot of people have heard them. So that is what I want to do today. I want to share with you guys my 2 favorite ghost stories. So get comfortable, turn out the lights, and prepare for some ghost stories. Our first story for the evening has been around for decades. It has gone by many names, but I personally like to call it the sound from the basement. Our story starts out on a cold, dark, and stormy Friday night. Young teenage girl Alyssa has been left home alone for the weekend. Her parents have gone out for a second honeymoon. It's quite nice for them, but she's a little spooked to be left home alone for the weekend for the first time. But no need to fear because she has her great big German Shepherd named Rocco there with her. So it's an average Friday night. She doesn't really have a lot of friends, so she's not really texting with anyone or doing anything like that. She's just home alone looking for something good to watch on TV. It's getting pretty late, so she's just flipping through the channels looking for something good to watch. And she happens to come across a breaking news bulletin on one of the news stations. It turns out that the insane asylum on the edge of town has a pretty big problem. Their cannibalistic psychopath who's been residing there for the past 20 years has escaped. Now, that sends some pretty bad chills up her spine because, she lives pretty close to the insane asylum. Chances are he's going to be coming into town. But once again, she has been left home alone, but she has that great big dog of hers. If anyone were to try to break in, Rocco is there to protect her. So after hearing that news bulletin, she keeps flipping through the channels, but she's just too darn freaked out. There's no way she's going to be able to enjoy anything with that idea of the cannibalistic psychopath going through her mind. So she decides it's time to turn it in for the night. So she turns off the TV, heads up to bed, gets into her pajamas, and she slides into bed. Her great big German Shepherd Rocco gets right underneath her bed, good and comfortable, the way he always sleeps every night. So even though she's very worried about the possibility of the psycho coming to get her, she falls asleep pretty easily. So she's dozed off, and next thing you know, she starts hearing a weird bumping noise coming from her basement. Now, that freaks her out, obviously. She gets up and she looks at the alarm clock. It's about 3 a.m. So she gets up and she's about to go check out the noise, but as her feet touch the ground, she feels her dog licking the back of her feet. And she figured it must be the thunder or something, because if someone were to break in, Rocco would be going nuts, he'd be barking, he'd be growling, he'd be snapping. She would know, and so would Rocco if someone breaks in. So, with Rocco underneath her bed, she figures, really there's nothing to worry about, it's probably just her imagination. So she rolls back over into bed and was able to fall back asleep pretty easily again. A few hours later, she hears that bumping again coming from the basement. This time she's getting pretty worried again, so she once again puts her feet down on the ground to go check out the noise, but once again she feels Rocco licking the back of her feet. So once again, if someone were to break in, this dog would alert her. There's no way that this dog wouldn't be able to know, so once again, it's no big deal, so who cares? So she once again rolls back into bed, able to fall right back asleep. Once again, about an hour later, the noise is even more aggressive. It sounds like someone is pounding on the basement door. So once again, she gets up, she puts her feet on the ground, she feels Rocco lick her feet again, but she's like, you know what, I have to see what this noise is. What the hell is this? So she quickly gets up, goes over to the basement door, and swings it open. And there, right at the basement door, is her dog, Rocco. He's been stabbed several times. He's bleeding out. You can tell he's been trying to alert her for the past hour. You can see the blood trail going up the stairs. Someone stabbed Rocco in the basement. He tried to get up. He's been trying to alert her. She's standing there, stunned, shocked. What the hell is going on? And then all of a sudden, she hears someone whisper in her ear behind her, "Humans can lick too." Now, chances are you guys have already heard that ghost story before, and for good reason. It's a classic. It's been featured in TV shows and movies. Everyone has told it around a campfire at least once, And it's just a damn good story. It has the girl being left home alone, a crazy psychopath breaking out of a mental asylum. It has all the makings for a good horror story, and that ending gets me every time. I remember the first time I actually told that to my ex-girlfriend. She had somehow never heard that story before, but when she got to the ending, she freaked the fuck out. It's just that good. Now, chances are you guys have heard it because it's a classic, but this next one is really obscure. I remember the first time my older brother told it to me. I think I was like 13 or 14 years old. Never once in my life have I ever heard it before, and every person I have told since then has never heard it either. So hopefully you guys can enjoy this next story that I like to call Peace. So our story starts out on a bright sunny spring day. 12-year-old Johnny is sitting in class, bored out of his wits. He's just looking out the window out into the streets, not paying attention to whatever his bitch of a teacher is telling him. And out of the corner of his eye, he happens to just see someone walk past the school, so he just kind of focuses a bit more, and he sees the most beautiful girl he has ever seen in his entire life. She has long blonde hair, these piercing blue eyes. She may be a few years older than Johnny, but he doesn't really care. He has never seen a girl this stunning before. He's entranced the second he sees her. So as she's walking by the window, she happens to look over, and Johnny and this girl happen to lock eyes. And she stops and she smiles at him. And he's just in shock that this girl just happened to see him and she's smiling at him, so of course he smiles back. And so she waves at him and he waves back. And then she gets a really big smile on her face. And she gives him the old hippie peace sign. So he smiles and laughs a little bit and gives her the peace sign back. But then just as he did that, the teacher slams a ruler down on his desk and tells him to pay attention. So he snaps straight and he looks right at the board, right up until his teacher looks away. And then his eyes are right back out the window looking for that girl again. But unfortunately, she's gone. She's walked past, she's gone. So Johnny's a little pissed. Damn, this most beautiful girl he's ever seen. Just gone, just like that. Crap, right? So anyway, the school day ends and Johnny's walking home. And as he's walking home from school, he happens to notice that there is an envelope attached to his shoe. He must have picked it up, stepped in some gum, and just walked on this piece of garbage. So he takes out the envelope off his shoe there, and he notices that there's something inside. So he figures, you know, what the hell, let's see what's inside. And inside there's a Polaroid picture of this girl. Once again, beautiful, stunning, big smile, giving the peace sign. It's her. He can't believe it. What are the odds he'd be walking down the street and somehow come across a picture of her? But as he's looking at the picture, he notices there's something written on the back. So he turns it over, and on it is his name, Johnny. And he's like, oh my god, this girl knows who I am. He doesn't care that, she doesn't care that, you know, who the hell knows how this girl knows who he is. But the fact is that she knows who he is. She left a picture for him. He's elated. He couldn't be more happy. So the next day he goes around to all of his teachers, showing them the picture, asking if they know who this girl is. None of the teachers in the school know who it is. None of his buddies know. He ends up going to his buddies' houses, asking their older brothers and sisters. None of these people know. He even started asking parents. He even snuck into the high school and started asking the high school kids who this girl is. No one knows who this girl is. So he's really down about it, but he just can't seem to let this go. It's not that he's elated, he's starting to become obsessed. He's walking around with this picture in his pocket, he's sleeping with it under his pillow, he's looking at it while he's eating his breakfast, he's not doing his homework anymore, his grades are slipping, he's not hanging out with his friends anymore, he's not playing video games or watching TV anymore. All he's doing is searching for this girl and looking at this picture. He's obsessed, he can't get over it. So this goes on for a good few weeks. Johnny's starting to lose weight because he's not even eating anymore. All he wants to do is look at this picture. So he's in bed one night, and all he hears is this little tick on his window. It's like someone throwing little stones at his window, right? So it wakes him up, and he gets up, and he just happens to look out his window to see what the hell's going on. And there she is in his front lawn, this girl. And he's like, he opened his window, he's like, stay there, I'm coming down. And she just smiles and waves, and she gives him the peace sign again. He's like, yeah, peace, right on, I'm coming. So he throws on some clothes, and he gets downstairs, and he's on his front porch, and she's not in the front lawn anymore. She's across the street on the other sidewalk. So he doesn't care. He just runs right across his lawn, right onto the sidewalk. The second he takes a step onto the street, boom, Johnny gets hit by a truck. Killed instantly. The guy driving the truck, his name is Franklin. So he immediately slams on the brakes. He's like, oh my god, what the hell just happened? Poor Franklin, he was working a late shift. He was coming home for the night. He was just driving along this street and this kid jumps out in front of his car. So of course he gets on the horn. He calls 911. The cops show up. The ambulance show up. Everyone's freaking out. Johnny's parents are out there crying, they're screaming. Of course the police question Franklin, ask him what the hell happened. He just explains, I was driving home, this kid jumped out in front of me, I don't know what happened. Turns out that, Franklin, he wasn't drinking, he wasn't texting, he was going the speed limit. He technically did nothing legally wrong. This kid just jumped out in front of his car. So, of course, it's so late at night. Of course, there's no witnesses around. Everyone in the neighborhood's asleep. So the cops tell Franklin, look, bud, just calm down, go home, get some sleep. If we need anything from you, we'll call you in the morning. You've been through a pretty traumatic thing. Go home, just try to get some sleep. So, of course, Franklin is shooken up. He's shaken. He doesn't even know if he can make it home. So he gets behind the wheel and he starts on his way. But the thing is, immediately as he drives away, he's racked with guilt. Because he knows he wasn't 100% honest with the police officers. Because you see, there was a witness. As Franklin was driving down the street, he saw the most beautiful girl he had ever seen on the side of the street. Blonde hair, blue eyes, around his age. He'd never seen a woman this beautiful. But when he hit Johnny and he got out, this woman had disappeared. He wasn't sure if he'd actually seen it or where this woman had went. But he just knew that he wasn't 100% honest with the police officers, and it was racking him with guilt. And he knew that the next morning he was going to call them and tell them that he did indeed see someone. Who knows? Maybe this person saw something. Maybe they knew something was going on. Who knows? So anyway, Franklin drives up to his home, pulls into the driveway, and he gets out of his car, and he's walking up to his door, and right before he's about to put the key into the keyhole to unlock his front door, he notices that there's an envelope stuck to his shoe. He's like, I must have stepped in some garbage. So he takes it off his shoe there, and he notices there's something in the envelope. And he opens it up, and there's a Polaroid picture of that same woman, the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. The blonde hair, the blue eyes, the perfect smile. But there's something strange about her. For some reason, she's holding up her hand, and she's showing 3 fingers. I gotta tell you guys, that is my all-time favorite ghost story. I still remember the first time my older brother told it to me and how much it scared me. Oh, the ending gets me every time. And I love seeing the reaction of all the people I tell that story to, just seeing how they react to the ending, because every time I've told this to someone, it always gets a really good reaction. So I hope you guys enjoyed the ghost stories I just told you, and I hope you share them with a lot of your friends and your family, because the great thing about a ghost story is they're meant to be shared, and what is a better time to share a good ghost story than during Halloween? But I don't want you guys to just enjoy my ghost stories. I want you to share your ghost stories with me. Be it a real or a fabricated story just like the ones I told you. Please, in the comments, tell me your favorite ghost stories. I want to know. I always love hearing these things. And while you're at it, don't forget to stay spooky.